Whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today. But if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content, those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, Gavin.Richard1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel GBoot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, because on the dance floor is where we'll be. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the...
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby.
Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up.
Baby, feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Get on up. How's everybody doing today? Happy Father's Day and happy Juneteenth. This is June 19th, 2022. This is the second year in which the United States has celebrated Juneteenth as a federal holiday. And today is also Father's Day. I want to send a special shout out to all the fathers, all the uncles, all the godfathers like yours truly that played a role in a young boy or young girl's life, especially for our young boys, because they need men in their lives to guide them properly and let them know what it's like to be a man and what is entitled of them. Shout out to all the men who have done that. And welcome everyone to another edition of G-Boot 2786 Random Topic Sundays. I'm grateful to be back with you all here today. And we know it's Juneteenth. Now, Juneteenth, of course, started on June 9th, refers to June 19, 1865, when slaves in Texas had first learned that slavery had been abolished. That's where it comes from. General Gordon, who issued Order 3, which let them know that the United States had won the Civil War and that slavery was over. Although if you talk to Judge Joe Brown, he doesn't celebrate Juneteenth because those damn Negroes were told earlier that they were freed by black Union soldiers and they didn't believe it because they were all caught up in this bullshit. So I do not celebrate Juneteenth. I'll celebrate Father's Day, but not Juneteenth. Because Father's Day represents masculinity. But that's what Juneteenth was, and I have an article, and one of the topics we'll talk about tonight too is, has Juneteenth lost its meaning? I guess we could start with that now. Has it lost its truth meaning? Now, I was looking at an article from Axiom. If you don't know what Axiom is, they are a news site, and they posted this, and I thought this was interesting when I was reading it. It says, it's titled, Juneteenth is at risk of losing its meaning. Now, Juneteenth is meant to acknowledge Black emancipation from enslavement, but there's a risk it can turn into just another day off, defined more by road trips and sales on mattresses. The big picture, corporations, retailers, and some local governments are struggling with how to honor the holiday that commemorates the end of slavery. For instance, Walmart apologized last month for launching a store brand ice cream labeled as Celebration Edition Juneteenth, and they pulled it after there was backlash. But you noticed when you look at the picture of it, someone had pointed it out that there were, and I didn't see it, but that there were rainbow colors. Hold on. In one of the ice creams. Now, okay. Is it here? I'm gonna mute it in case I don't want any copyright strikes with ads. Well, that's the picture there. And that's just one of them. Then on top of that, we saw how the Children's Museum in Indianapolis was forced to apologize earlier this month after it came under fire for selling a Juneteenth watermelon salad. IKEA in Atlanta drew criticism after making a special menu for Juneteenth that Black employees called insensitive, with items including fried chicken and watermelon. And it says here that 33% of U.S. companies have made Juneteenth a paid holiday, according to preliminary results. And it comes down to a red hot summer travel season against a backdrop of state level efforts to clamp down on teaching about slavery in schools. So someone wrote, Eddie S. Glaude, who's chairman of the Department of African American Studies at Princeton, stated that when you live in a society like ours, there's always a danger that these sort of holidays will be absorbed into a kind of market consumer-based kind of logic or experience. I said that same thing myself when this became law, when this became a federal holiday. And my whole thing about it was that once it became a federal holiday, you were going to see, the Juneteenth mattress sale only at Kirschman's, only at Mattress Center, or get three of your clothes for the price of one at Macy's for the Juneteenth annual sale. It was going to be commercialized. I knew it when it was going to happen because that's what happens in America. We're not only a racial society, a racist society, we're also a capitalist society. And anything to make money, anything to make a buck off, if people can do it, we will. You have some companies, there are some companies who are actually using Juneteenth as an opportunity for branding and community service. So, for instance, they said Delta Airlines and American Family Insurance announced their participation in Unlock Potential, a racial equity focused hiring program for at risk youth that aims to prevent incarceration. It's not bad, although all Black people are not incarcerated. Empower Home Remodeling, one of the nation's largest exterior home remodelers, is kicking off an inaugural Juneteenth initiative in Atlanta with a walking tour of Black historical sites and outings to Black-owned businesses. Well, that might not be bad. But I'm going to actually, and there are only 18 states that have made Juneteenth a holiday. Louisiana, back in 2020, John Bell Edwards signed it into law, making Juneteenth a state holiday. And it did that shortly after what happened with George Floyd. When that happened, if you notice, for instance, many things started to change. Aunt Jemima came off the Aunt Jemima box. You had the Washington Redskins who changed their name from the Redskins to the Washington football team. Now they're the Commanders. So that stuff happened. But is there a problem with Juneteenth? So that what I'm going to do, and I have the poll right now, I want to ask you, do you feel Juneteenth has lost its meaning? Give me a yes or no on the poll right now. So I got a poll going on the YouTube channel, G786. Has Juneteenth lost its original meaning? Give me a yes or no. I just said, do you have it lost its original? So I want to know what you all think. Sorry, I hit enter before I put meaning. I think that in a way it has, because it's been commercialized. Now, I'll be truthful with you all. Just like Judge Joe, I never really celebrated Juneteenth, and honestly, I knew very little about it. I had no knowledge of it as to its works, purposes. of what it was about. And some people, of course, had and celebrated it. I mean, I had heard about a Juneteenth celebration, for instance, when I was in Baton Rouge. They had an annual Juneteenth party and so forth. I had heard stuff like that. I had never heard of it as a holiday and understood the meaning until much later on. And unfortunately, uh, they didn't teach that in school when I was coming up. So I found out obviously by looking at the information, reading about it more, and that's how it came out to be. But one person, I got one vote that says no, it hasn't lost its original meaning. So I don't know if we got other people who think it has or hasn't. I can certainly tell you, though, something that has happened is that we as Black Americans, we get more of these symbols and symbolisms and empty meanings with these holidays. I was on earlier today with We All Bees, Ron Hurd, as well as Kira Dangerous. Shout out to both of them. We were talking about my book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., available on Amazon, ladies and gentlemen. You ought to go and read this book, purchase it, buy it on Amazon. It's posted there for you all. And we talked in detail about, Ron especially talked about we're getting these empty slogans and empty promises. And let me show you just what that is. Outside Gallia Hall here in New Orleans, there is a two-story Black Power hair pick that was erected. Hold on, I'm okay. Right outside Gallia Hall, and the mayor of New Orleans, T.D. Cantrell, all right, hold on, y'all. I'm having a little trouble. All right. Why in New Orleans? An Afro pick right outside Lafayette Square. We could have had another Dr. King statue or something. We have a Dr. King bus on Martin Luther King Boulevard. I would have taken that. I would have taken a Union soldier, a colored Union soldier, or statues of one of the statue of General Gordon talking to the slaves. Real, I could see something like that. This Ungawa, this What's up, Derek Bailey? What's up, Donald Washington? I got to shout out to the chat. But anyway, let's see what the poll says. 60. Okay, so now I got 3 votes. 67% of you say yes, it has. We were asking whether Juneteenth has lost its original meaning. I'm gonna move on to the next topic, but let me just say this. Part of the reason why I said and asked if it's lost its original meaning is because it seems that, like always, other groups of people have been piggybacking, and always latching on to the Black community with these empty symbolisms with our stuff. Whenever we do something, they got to follow. And History Channel apparently did something very disrespectful that I saw. This clip that's circulating. This was circulating on Tariq Nasheed's uh, Twitter page, and I had a chance to look at it myself. Apparently, there's a video going around. There's a video of History Channel did I guess, a Juneteenth marathon, from what Tariq Nasheed said. And they actually had this.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I cannot call myself a champion of civil rights unless I champion everyone's civil rights. Growing up, I had very limited exposure to the gay community, didn't understand it. One thing that was very instrumental in me having more compassion and trying to understand what's going on beyond my experience had to do with the murder of Matthew Shepard in 1998. You know, he was tortured and left to die out in the freezing cold. Why? Because he was gay? It's the same as what happened with Emmett Till. Hatred and bigotry leading to murder. Dr. King once said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I cannot call myself a champion of civil rights unless I champion everyone's civil rights. Growing up, I had very limited exposure to the gay community, didn't understand it. One thing that was very instrumental in me having more compassion and trying to understand what's going on beyond my experience had to do with the murder of Matthew Shepard in 1998. You know, he was tortured and left to die out in the freezing cold. Why? Because he was gay? It's the same as what happened with Emmett Till.
Oh my God.
Hatred and bigotry
I'm
leading to murder.
Because I'm looking at that. You know, lately, if you followed or watched anything going on in the media, your Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, as of late, has been on the coon train. This is the same Kareem. That's true, Phantom Beat, and we're going to get to that. There's actually more to the story with the Matthew Shepard thing. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar attacked Ice Cube for making what he said was anti-Semitic comments. Remember that? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar sided against Bill Cosby when all the allegations against Bill Cosby were going on, when he talked about how you can respect somebody's art, but that person can still be bad. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the same Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Let's not forget. I don't remember when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was coming out. Obviously, the 60s and 70s and 80s, that was ahead of my time. And he was arguably, by all accounts, one of the greatest basketball players to ever live. I give him that. But remember this. You see this picture here of all of these black athletes. Hold on. Y'all see this picture right here? I'm putting up on the screen. All of these black athletes. This is a better one. Now, I can tell you, I can't name all of them. I know the first four that come to mind. That's Jim Brown. That's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the right, on Jim Brown's left. That's Ali, the greatest of all time. And of course, that is Bill Russell. And Bill Russell arguably is one of the greatest basketball players that ever lived. Bill Russell won 11 championships. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, 6. You know, Jim Brown, NFL champion, 11 time, I believe an 8, 9-time Pro Bowler, Hall of Fame NFL career. So Kareem was there when Ali was was fighting for his life when he opposed being drafted in the Vietnam War. So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has some sense of civil rights. But I think somewhere along the lines, after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1980, when he did Airplane with the Zucker brothers, something happened to him. I've honestly believed that he would actually say out of his mouth that what happened with Matthew Shepard was the same thing as to what happened with Emmett Till, that it was based on hatred. Let's repeat what he said. I want to get the actual quote because I don't want to misquote him. But out of his own mouth, we heard it. Let's hold on. Let's hear. This is what he said.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I cannot call myself a champion of civil rights unless I champion everyone's civil rights. Growing up, I had very limited exposure to the gay community, didn't understand it. One thing that was very instrumental in me having more compassion and
Why would you want to be exposed to it?
trying to understand what's going on beyond my experience had to do with the murder of Matthew Shepard in 1998. You know, he was tortured and left to die out in the freezing cold. Why? Because he was gay? It's the same as what happened with Emmett Till.
He said he was tortured and left out in the freezing cold. Why? Because he was gay? That was the same thing that happened to Emmett Till.
Hatred and bigotry leading to murder.
Hatred and bigotry leading to murder. So you heard that. So there's no mistake that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, a black Muslim who was a black Muslim. I don't know if he was a black Muslim. I believe he was converted to Sunni Islam. But this is a man who, with Jim Brown, Bill Russell, he knows the plight of racism in this country. When he was a teenager, if you watch the Winning Time documentary, although it's not a documentary, it's a TV series, and it is highly fictionalized, but there are some truths in it and how Kareem Abdul-Jabbar changed his name, why he changed his name. And he remembered dealing directly with the racial prejudice, seeing the racial prejudice, his father being a black police officer and seeing the stories of black men who would get shot by the police. That changed him. You know, he grew up in Harlem, the only child of Ferdinand Louis Alcindor and his mother, Cora Lillian. He knows better. He grew up, so when Emmett Till was killed, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was 8 years old. So he has to have some memory of when that happened. But you said when growing up, you had no knowledge of the gay community. You wouldn't have had, because the reason why you had no knowledge is because nobody talked about it. In 1940, if you were born in 1940, you grew up, obviously, 1947, right? You grew up in the 1950s to the 60s. LGBTQ was not something that was discussed out in the open in public because that was considered sinful behavior. And it wasn't called LGBTQ. It was called sodomy. It was called homosexuals. That's the words that they call it now. You know, of course, they have the acronyms for it. It's LGBTQIA+. And he grew up, obviously, he says he had no understanding of it because they didn't talk about it. That's why. That was sexuality. That was bedroom stuff. That was stuff that was done, you know, they had their own clubs. They had their own hangouts that nobody would frequent. Their bathhouses that if you were a straight heterosexual male or female, you didn't frequent stuff like that. But neither here nor there on that point. I'm more taken aback and this is not of him comparing what happened with Matthew Shepard to Emmett Till. Matthew Shepard, and let me be clear, what happened to him was wrong, as wrong can be. I in no way endorse the murder that took place, his murder that took place, but to be honest in what that was about, from all intents and purposes, that had something to do with drugs. That wasn't just a homosexual thing. That was over drugs and a homosexual lover. From the information that I have read and gathered, that's what that had more to do with. But they were able to use that to get sympathy out of the American people to change laws. Now, again, I don't condone what happened to him. Those guys should have been prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law if they did what they did to Matthew Shepard. There were rumors. If you go to ABC News, this was in 2004. I don't tell any lies. This is an article from ABC News. 6 years ago, on a cold October night in the outskirts of Laramie, Wyoming, 21-year-old gay college student Matthew Shepard was brutally beaten, tied to a fence, and left for dead. He was found 18 hours later, rushed to the hospital where he lingered on the edge of death for nearly 5 days before succumbing to his injuries. The story garnered national attention when the attack was characterized as a hate crime, but Shepard's killers, in their first interview since their convictions, tell 2020's Elizabeth Vargas that money and drugs were motivated their actions that night, not hatred of gays. While Shepard lay unconscious in a hospital, the national press quickly arrived in Laramie. Cal Rucha, who prosecuted the case, told Vargas the media descended on Laramie like locusts. James Martin of the Casper Star Tribune said, "We knew in the newsroom the day it happened, this is going to be a huge story that is going to attract international interest." I remember one of my fellow reporters saying, "This kid is going to be the new poster child for gay rights." He added, Andrew Sullivan, he's openly gay advocate. He actually said, I think a lot of gay people, when they first heard of that horrifying event, felt sort of a punch in the stomach. I mean, it kind of encapsulated all of our fears of being victimized. Aaron McKinney and Russell Henderson, who were both 21, were charged with Shepard's murder. Henderson's case came before the court first to avoid the possibility of receiving the death penalty. He pled guilty to murder and kidnapping and received 2 consecutive life sentences. So this is what they say. It had to do with drugs. It had nothing to do with the fact that they were gay. They say one of Shepard's college friends was concerned, her name was Tina Labrie, that Shepard's depression might be somewhat connected to involvement with drugs. He said, "Everywhere I move, it seems like I get sucked into the drug scene." That's what she told Vargas. So this was all about, according to the killers, this had to do with drugs. Not hate, not LGBTQ. Emmett Till, when you compare and contrast that, and I'm going to share the article with you so that way, and I'm giving facts. This is not hate speech. Let's be clear. I'm not casting hate on any group of people on LGBTQ by talking about this. And It's a shame that I even have to do a disclaimer in saying that, because we can't have an honest conversation with each other about this type of event that goes on or these things that happen. We have to sit and disclose stuff so nobody gets angry, nobody gets depressed, nobody's feelings get hurt because they can't handle the truth. The truth is a painful thing from time. You know, when Jesus Christ said, "Be the salt of the earth," and he talked, salt irritates. That's why they put it on slaves' wounds, on the wounds of the slave, because when you put it in an open wound, it burns. The iodine inside of it cuts. That's why they pour it on, that's why they did that, to irritate. Salt irritates. And we have someone here who was doing we have a case here, getting it back to Kareem, for an older Black person. See, there's a difference between an elder and an older. An elder is someone like Dick Gregory or Minister Louis Farrakhan. An older is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Clarence Thomas, Jim Clyburn. Those are olders. I've lost a lot of respect. And I know people say, well, does Kareem know what he's doing? And Kareem's been doing this for a while. Kareem has been talking shit for a while. When he came at Ice Cube, why would he come at Ice Cube the way he did? Ice Cube, he and Ice Cube are both Black, are both Muslims. That's not to say you can't disagree, you have to agree with somebody because they're the same religion as you, but he came at Ice Cube for calling him out over what he said was anti-Semitic posts, because the Hollywood Reporter gave Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they let him write an article over anti-Semitism in sports in Hollywood. He wrote this article in the Hollywood Reporter a couple of years back in 2020. And Cube said they gave Kareem 30 pieces of silver to cut us down without even a phone call, meaning Kareem didn't even call Ice Cube to talk about what his beef was. It's saddening to see this. It's saddening to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the greatest NBA players of all time, talking shit like this. And he had to have known about Emmett Till if he was born in 1947. He was 8 years old, so he knew about that. Thank you, computer robots. I'll tell that. Happy Father's Day to everybody in the chat. Happy Father's Day to you. He said Kareem is a deadbeat dad and he's old and outdated. Maybe. I don't know too much about it. We're going to do something. We're going to open the phone lines up. 504-656-6760. 504-656-6760. What do you think about Kareem and Juneteenth? Please keep your calls to at least 2 to 3 minutes, because we got other stuff I want to talk about. But the phone line is open. 504-656-6760. What do you think about this with Kareem comparing the History Channel allowing this? And Tariq Nasheed was talking about this, warning like how they're making a marathon of every other group but us. Juneteenth, I thought, was about the ending of slavery. What does Matthew Shepard and gay rights have to do with that? What does it have to do with that? I don't think anybody's going to call in. Kareem is not the sharpest tool in the toolbox. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Well, here's the thing about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He actually has written. He knows Black history. Kareem is not a stupid man. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has written several books about Black history. I remember him. He wrote a book on the Black Flank. I believe that was the Black soldiers in the Civil War. He's written several books. I believe he wrote the foreword on it. I don't know if he wrote the actual book. Black Profiles in Courage, a legacy of African American achievement with Alan Steinberg. A Season on the Reservation, My Sojourn with the White Mountain Apaches with Stephen Singular. And I know Steve Singular. Brothers in Arms, the epic story of the 761st Tank Battalion. That was the book he wrote. World War II's Forgotten Heroes with Anthony Walton. On the Shoulders of Giants, My Journey Through the Harlem Renaissance with Raymond Opsfield. What Color Is My World? So he has a knowledge, Mr. Jabbar has a knowledge of Black history. He's not a stupid man. But that was a stupid remark. You missed us talking about, Danielle. We talked about Juneteenth, whether I have it posted on the YouTube page, whether it's lost its original meaning. And now we were talking about this comment here that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made. I'll play it one last time for everybody so you can hear it.
Dr. King once said,
he was speaking, fair use, by the way. I should have indicated that, fair use. He was on the History Channel. They have these documentary going on about Juneteenth, and he made a remark comparing Emmett Till's murder. I'll just play it for you.
Once said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I cannot call myself a champion of civil rights unless I champion everyone's civil rights. Growing up, I had very limited exposure to the gay community, didn't understand it. One thing that was very instrumental in me having more compassion and trying to understand what's going on beyond my experience had to do with the murder of Matthew Shepard in 1998. You know, he was tortured and left to die out in the freezing cold. Why? Because he was gay? It's the same as what happened with Emmett Till. Hatred and bigotry leading to murder. Dr. King once said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. I cannot call myself a champion of civil rights unless I champion everyone's civil rights. Growing up, I had very limited exposure to the gay community, didn't.
That's enough of that. Growing up, I had very limited exposure. Of course, nobody talked about it. That's why they stayed in the closet. They stayed in the closet. That's why you didn't have exposure. That wasn't something you talked about. That wasn't something glorified then. I'm done on that subject, but I'm no longer surprised by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Now, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, please donate to the Cash App, the GooglePay, PayPal. I want to get to our final topic, though. I want to talk about. I've been moving through it. The U.S. is about to head towards a recession, another recession, according to economic experts. Now, if you look at this story I got here from Bloomberg, Now, 4 people wrote this: Nancy Cook, Reed Pickert, Gregory Court, and Anna Wong. Soaring prices are hurting Americans. The cure is going to hurt, too. It may take a recession to stamp out inflation, and it's likely to happen on President Joe Biden's watch. A downturn by the start of 2024, barely even on the radar just a few months ago, is now close to a 3 in 4 probability, according to the latest estimates by Bloomberg Economics. On Wednesday, the Fed delivered its biggest interest rate hike in almost 3 decades as it takes the fight against inflation into overdrive. When central bankers try this hard to slow the economy down, they often end up tipping it into outright reverse. Investors are rushing to bet on that kind of bad outcome, sending stocks and bonds plunging. American households watching their retirement funds dwindle as their grocery and utility bills soar say they feel gloomier about the economy than at any time in more than 4 decades. All of this, it's worth pointing out, is happening at a time when U.S. consumers are still flush with cash and jobless rates are near historic lows. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said Wednesday there's no sign of a broader slowdown. The Fed's own projections and others highlighted by the administration suggest a recession remains unlikely, showing how different economic models can produce a wide range of outcomes. Still, the mood has turned sour at an alarming pace, putting Biden at risk of joining an unenvied club. From Jimmy Carter to George H.W. Bush to Donald Trump, one-term U.S. presidents of the past half-century all had their re-election hopes fatally injured by the lingering effects of a recession. That prospect is already causing turmoil in the Biden camp ahead of crucial midterm elections in November, when as Democrats must defend thin majorities in Congress or risk losing what ability they have to get legislation passed, including measures to lift the economy if it slumps. So we see that inflation has gone up to nearly 8.6% as of May 2022. Consumer sentiment has gone down by 50% as of June 30th, 2020. Though we're not in June 30th, but his approval rating, Joe Biden's approval rating now, is at 30%, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics, University of Michigan, Real Clear Politics. These are all the polls that they had here. But someone said, they wrote, it's not a recession, it's worse. They say add up the inflation and unemployment rates, and you get a measure that economists call the misery index. That gauge is now elevated by high historical standards, higher, in fact, than it was in several post-World War II recessions. Bloomberg economics projections suggest Americans will still be pretty miserable come midterm election day. The economy might not be in recession, but by then that's only a 1 in 4 likelihood. But for many voters, it will feel that way. So you look at this. The recession is the yellow lines. So they're saying right now it's high. And in 2022, there's a yellow line here. As of May, we may not be out of it, but by the time their midterm elections come, it could be worse. I'm sorry, I hadn't seen some of y'all comments and reading it. But yeah, I said wish that you're right about that. Oh, she would. If Mamie were alive, she would. She would tell Kareem off. She was the type of woman to do that. She didn't hold back. It is a depression. You think about it now. Everything is expensive. Gas is high. There's a food shortage possibly that's coming. There's the job, unemployment is at an all-time high as well. All of this stuff is going on under Joe Biden's watch. Donald Trump is no longer the president. And part of this, too, let's go back to when Joe Biden got in office back in 2021. When he was first sworn in, one of the first things he did was he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. Now, that right there, you cost thousands of people their jobs in doing that. People that were getting ready to work with that Keystone Pipeline, you shut it down because small minority of people protested. A small minority of people protested and were upset about, the orange man doing this to us, these our rights and so forth. Even though that pipeline has been there for years. You have and don't use the U.S. reserves, not even out in Hawaii, to get oil and gas for the American people. You're allegedly, from what I've heard, he's depending on foreign oil like Venezuela, for instance, to try and alleviate some of that. So all of that is going on under Joe Biden's watch. Donald Trump is not president. I don't care how many people are going to get upset and say, well, Trump caused Trump. Trump didn't cause this. Mr. Biden, President Biden Joe Biden is the president. And it's bad. Now, Joe Biden's Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, says she expects the economy to slow, but continued insisting that a full-blown recession is not at all inevitable. She said, it's natural now that we expect a transition to steady and stable growth, but I don't think a recession is at all inevitable. She said, Yellen said, inflation causes are global, not local, and those factors are unlikely to diminish immediately. Yellen said some trade tariffs on China inherited from the administration of President Donald Trump, here they go, they got to blame Trump, made no strategic sense. She added that Biden was reviewing them as a way to bring down inflation. Clearly, inflation is unacceptably high. It's President Biden's top priority to bring it down. The U.S. Central Bank's chairperson, Jerome Powell, has also said it's his goal to bring it down while maintaining a strong labor economy, according to Yellen. Well, here's the problem with what Miss Yellen with the Secretary Yellen had to say with regards to that. The tariffs that you're talking about that were imposed on China. The United States has been indebted to China ever since Richard Nixon took the United States off the gold standard. And remember, Nixon was the first president to actually visit communist China back in the 70s. And ever since then, most, if not all, our major products that are imported here to the United States that our consumers buy are based and made in China, not in the United States. All of the major jobs, all of the major factories and businesses went overseas. I remember even when George W. Bush was president, people were going to find work, obviously, especially when the war started, with the oil, with Halliburton and a couple of other oil companies I can think of. But Halliburton was a major one. You had contractors that were making a lot of money. And so nobody wanted to support anything like this. And we have a situation where you're trying to blame Donald Trump. Trump wanted to bring American businesses, bring jobs back to the United States. That was his campaign. That's what he was based on. He started putting tariffs on China, taxing China. I remember he talked about that, how it was going to cost the United States money. He gave a statement in his presidential address about how it was going to cost money if we were giving things to China. We are in debt to them. And yet we want to still blame the orange man for everything that happened when they're not looking at the mirror and saying, what have we done? What can we do to alleviate this? Even if to use the Keystone Pipeline for, I would even use it just temporarily. If you feel there's an environmental issue that could arise, to use it at least temporarily instead of just flat out shutting it down, not doing anything with it, because we could use and it could alleviate, let's be real, a lot of these oil prices, these gas prices that we have. It's about supply and demand. Danielle said these bastards created this disaster and now they're so-called trying to find a damn solution. Absolutely. That's about all I wanted to talk about, of course, tonight. If that leaves you something to think about. Let's look at our poll right quick. I just wanted to see this. We got 92% who says and feel that Juneteenth has lost its original meaning. Cool. 92% to 8 out of 13 votes. 12 votes, actually. Nerds also come in chocolate said, can't blame Trump for everything, but you can't tell this to the black folks on my job. They refuse to see how Biden is making things worse. Three Shades of Gavin. Hold on. 12 votes, actually. Nerds also come in chocolate said, can't blame Trump for everything, but you can't tell. 12 votes, actually. Nerds also come in chocolate said, can't blame Trump for everything, but you can't tell. 12 votes, actually. Come in chocolate said, can't blame Trump for everything, but you can't tell. 12 votes, actually. Come in chocolate said, can't blame Trump for everything, but you can't tell. That's cool. Let me stop. Actually. Come in chocolate said, can't blame Trump for that. Sorry, I had to do that one. Yes, Danielle, thank you for telling it like it is. These guys created the inflation, so now the U.S. suffers as a result of it. It's not just that, but the U.S. suffers from inflation as well. Honestly, Lyndon Baines Johnson and Richard Nixon was the worst thing that ever happened to the United States. Well, you know something, computer robots. Lyndon Baines Johnson was not that bad. Well, actually, was a great president. He actually is the only president after Lincoln that gave tangibles to Black Americans. He was responsible for the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act of 1965, as well as fair housing in 1968. The problem was for him and what led Johnson, why Johnson did not get the nomination for president from the Democratic Party the second term, and why he refused to run again, was the fact the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War escalated in 1965 after the Gulf of Tonkin incident. So when that happened, that became a major black eye onto his presidency, as well as what he did, the war on poverty and so forth. You know, he wanted to fix those things and what he called societal ills in the United States with poverty. But you look at the effects of it now, what has transpired in this country, you know, with the welfare system. And I'm not opposed to welfare. More whites are actually on welfare than blacks, believe it or not, although it's concentrated heavily in the black community. But whites are actually more on welfare than blacks. That is a fact. When you look at foods and welfare isn't just collecting a welfare check from the government, it's also food stamps. That's part of that. Any type of federal assistance program, SNAPs, benefits, that's all comes from that. Shout out to some chick named Star. She says, I was at a Juneteenth celebration today and I was the only one talking reparations. Yes, as well as its original origins. Yeah, I think let me see if online right now, there's actually somewhere is a reparations celebration. I think on CNN has something. Somebody was just saying CNN has a reparations celebration that's going on live right now. Let's see if we see that. I just want to see right quick. It's kind of like the Memorial Day, 4th of July celebrations that they have. Hold on, let me see.
Entrepreneur Maggie L. Walker became the first Black woman founder and president of St. Luke Penny Savings Bank, one of the oldest African American run banks in U.S. history. Today, the Black dollar is stronger than ever. With global support of Black entrepreneurs and artists, cultural leaders are creating new opportunities for Black people to build wealth and
This is the
legacy.
Juneteenth celebration, y'all.
For the company On Our Own, David Gross and D Smoke have partnered to keep Broadway Boxing Gym a Black-owned business in South LA.
I think Broadway Boxing Gym represents an entirely different type of wealth. It's experiential wealth. It's a wealth of culture.
Fair
And the
use.
people who have grown up both, over time, but also personally have grown and matured in that space.
That's the
I think it's
actual.
something worth preserving.
So this is the Juneteenth celebration on CNN. Okay. What this has to do with Juneteenth?
Space for people to grow.
For us to buy the gym, we first had to take it out of default. The bank was going to take it and sell it. So as buyers, we stepped in, we put up money to take the seller out of default so they wouldn't lose it.
To introduce this idea to the community of where wealth starts and how it's built and sustained.
There's a lot of optimism and hope right now that the change that we always
That
wanted
too,
to see in the things
computer
we want for
robot.
the future.
All right, I'd rather watch Predator or Face Off.
In art, and as well as modeling that and some of the efforts that we're making in it.
Like an Alabama chick. You're hit. You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed. Oh. Okay. You got time to duck?
I'd rather watch Predator, Gorilla. Oh. Okay. All right, I'm gonna get on out of here since nobody wants to call in. Someone said Lisa Cabrera stated how 6,000 flights were canceled this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, when I came back from Key West a few weeks ago, they were canceling flights right there. Thank God ours wasn't canceled, but ours was delayed and kept getting delayed by a couple hours, which honestly wasn't a problem because otherwise we would have been stuck in the airport for several hours just chilling when we got to Atlanta to our connecting flight. But I'm gonna get on out of here, guys. But I do want to say this too. Yesterday, I started off. I should have said this earlier, but the weekend's been good. This Saturday, we did stuff. I had hosted a comedy show out here in New Orleans at the Well, and I want to give a special shout out to Sergeling and Alt Joe and all the owners over at the Well off Basin Street. We had a fabulous time at the Well doing comedy. Several comedians. I want to shout out all the comedians from Chew Boo to Pickle, Pop Jermaine, Dean of Orleans, Ryan Santos. that came out to support. That was a great night of comedy. I really, first time producing a show, I had fun doing that, man. I really did. And I'm trying to pull up, I had my pictures here of the show. Everybody there practically did a good job with everything. Uh, you know, we had a good time. We had a good time. It was Juneteenth Comedy Festival. Don't ask me why Pickle, White Boy is doing at the Juneteenth Comedy Explosion. Hey, I'm an integrationist. Uh, but that's Pickle there. That's Pop Jermaine. That's Chubu. Yeah, I don't know why her eyes are closed. It looks like she's sleeping on the stage after we got off. But Ryan Santos, that's Pickle. Dina Orleans. I was hosting. So we actually had a good time. We had a bunch of people came out, a good showing. Um, I had some people that didn't show up, but we had a great crowd. It was actually mixed. We had white and black. Uh, the Well is always great for comedy. I've been there. I've always enjoyed doing a show there. So we were grateful to bring that back and promote. I think I'm gonna do some more promoting, do more shows. That'd be fun to host, and I could do my own thing because I don't have to worry and wait on another motherfucker, excuse my French, trying to tell me I can't make it or hire me for their show when they don't really want me. They don't want me. What I mean by that is I don't have to wait on somebody and be dependent on someone who's going to deny me an opportunity. I make my own. That's how it's got to be. That's how we got to do it. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Please donate to the Cash App if you couldn't want to do something to me. Shout out to Brother Bernard, King BJ for the donation earlier. If you want, also, I've seen some people have but purchased the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr. That is available on Kindle right now on Amazon.com. Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby. Also, happy Father's Day again. Happy Juneteenth. Shout out to them. Oh, speaking of Bill Cosby, there was one final topic I needed to talk about, and I just remembered. I apologize. As you know, right now, the jury may have heard the jury is deliberating. And what happened? They started deliberations, I believe, on Wednesday of this past week, after the defense and the prosecute and the plaintiffs gave their closing argument. And what happened and took place recently is that one of the alternate jurors had to leave and go out of town. So now they have an alternate that's coming in. And it seems like what they're doing with Dr. Cosby is the same thing they did out in Philadelphia, out in Montgomery County, when they had it wasn't Philadelphia, it was Montgomery County, excuse me, when they were stacking the deck against Dr. Cosby and all the stuff that was going on. Shout out to you, Derek Bailey. Thank you for getting the book. Let me know what you think of it. Write a review too, you guys, once you get those, and tell me what you think. But Andrew Wyatt, he's gone viral. Andrew actually has YouTube. He actually has an Instagram channel now. He had posted some stuff about what was going on. And we got to give a special shout out to Brother Andrew Wyatt to Brother Ron Hurd for getting Andrew Wyatt Instagram, his ID page, telling him he should be doing it because he's exposing some of the stuff that's going on. But I'm going to play this video right now that Andrew had on his Instagram.
I wanted to go live, opposed to giving you a tape message. I wanted to do real time, to let you know what's going on today. I see somebody shaking their head. The person has on my camera. We're not live yet. Are we live? Okay. This is the part of going live. So We found out that this morning when we got here, the jurors were supposed to start deliberating at 9 a.m. They were sitting in the courthouse lobby waiting. They passed a note to the judge, the juror 4-person, who's juror number 6, white female, saying that there was a personality conflict. We found out that the jurors are in there arguing. We have some jurors who are saying, let's just find him guilty. You have daughters. That's not how this works. Deliberations are not supposed to work when you bring your personal feelings in there, your personal life. You're supposed to look at the evidence. So we have jurors saying, well, you have daughters, you have a sister, find him guilty. No, you're supposed to go through these questions. That's your responsibility as a citizen of Santa Monica. When you get picked for a jury, whatever your personal feelings are, when you go through voir dire, which is jury selection, they talk about your history. Have you been through sexual abuse? What are your feelings? Can you be impartial? If you cannot be impartial, let us know. Number 2 question. See, the way it works, let me explain it to you. You answer a question, like, for example, was Ms. Huth under the age of 18 years when she was at the Playboy Mansion with Mr. Cosby? In a civil case, the plaintiff has to get 9 votes, 75%. If they don't get 9 votes on the first question with yes, they get no, they can't move on. Then it's over. The defendant, Mr. Cosby, wins. Well, as we always suspected, this is a hard case. Mr. Cosby has been polarized in the news. He has been deemed as a pariah. He has been deemed as a sexual violent predator. Now they're trying to make him into a child predator. It's hard to get a fair shot when you have been demonized the way you have been demonized in the news. And our goal right now is to leave it in the courtroom, but also we understand, due to the court of public opinion, is that we have to inform and educate the people out here who are not going to read, who are looking for the sound bites on social media. They're not going to pick up a paper. They're not going to pick up a book. They're not going to read the trial transcript. They might not even understand the trial transcript. But my goal as not just PR, public relations, but crisis management, we're in a crisis. So my job is to come into a city at least a month early, to become acclimated to the city, cultivate relationships, hear what people are saying, and report it back to the legal team, the research team, and we find the evidence to get to this point. This is how we get to this point, how to try a case. Then you try the case, and then we have, closing arguments, and we hand it over to the jury. Now my job is to continue to inform the public, especially when jurors are not sequestered. When they're not sequestered, what that means is that they're not locked in the hotel room. They have access to the computers, to the media, cell phones, friends. They're not supposed to discuss the case, because we just heard many jurors have discussed the case. Many jurors have their personal feelings. And my job is to say, somebody's watching. Let me put out the facts. Let me give it to the jury pool, because they're not sequestered. And what we need you guys to do, start following Andrew V. Wyatt, ANDREWVWYATT. Follow that. And follow Bill Cosby at BillCosby.com, his Instagram. My videos have been posted everywhere. I just want to educate you on what's happening. And the fact that, of course, we know Mr. Cosby, as I said in a posted video, he's not a perfect man. But this is a guy who was on the FBI's most wanted list because he wouldn't perform in the White House for Nixon in the 60s and the 70s. How could he be raping and drugging white women? They were picking black men up and put them in trucks, and hanging them for even whistling at a woman. Emmett Till, Central Park 5. We've seen this desecration of the black male in America. And what we got to continue to do is not let them tell our story. They don't let us tell them how to hate. We got to read the deposition when Mr. Cosby never admitted to drugging anybody. He never admitted to slipping someone a Mickey, giving them a peel. He never admitted to that. He was talking about the culture in the 70s, how everybody had Quaaludes. There was disco biscuits. It was like drinking 3 glasses of wine. They make you lethargic. They call it paralysis. That's what we need to know. You got to know the facts of this case. You got to know the facts of the history of Bill Cosby. Yes, America's dad, of course. Okay, how many men have cheated on their wives? How many wives have cheated on their husbands? You know, infidelity happens not just on one side.
Let me stop
Of
it right
course,
here. Shout out to Andrew. But yeah, infidelity happens all the time. Not that it's an excuse, but it happens among celebrities. And Bill Cosby was no exception. And even in the book, I talk about that. For instance, Frank Sinatra, who is one of the greatest entertainers of all time, is well known. He philandered and cheated on his wives. His own latest wife, Barbara, his last wife, actually said she understood she knew the business and knew Frank attracted women. She understood that came with the territory. So she never was upset around Frank being around other women because she knew it was going to happen eventually. It's not an excuse for adultery. I'm not saying it is. If you took a vow, you're supposed to be faithful, but wives know their husbands, especially husbands like that who are celebrities. Camille, you don't think Camille knew? From what Andrew said, Camille used to pick up Bill at the Playboy Mansion. Even Lunell talked about the fact that Camille knew about the supposedly, I don't know about Dr. Cosby fathering children out of wedlock, but I'm quoting Lunell. If Andrew or anybody's watching, I'm just quoting what she said. And she talked about, I know Camille know about the babies, and I don't know that for a fact. I've heard that rumor for years. Myself, I've never heard rape. I never heard rape. I never heard sexually assaulting 30, 40, 50 women. That I've never heard. But the jurors have to go back and deliberate again because one juror, they don't name, obviously, they have to remain anonymous, had to leave the country. And Judge Craig Carlin promised one juror who agreed to serve that she could leave Friday for a prior commitment. And Cosby's attorneys objected. And they even tried, and Andrew talks about it more. I'm going to play the other video. The judge wanted the jurors to deliberate even past the reputed time. They were supposed to leave at 4:30, and it was going on until about 4:45. You're going to see that. And Bill Cosby's lawyer, Jennifer Bulgine, even moved for mistrial because there was a photo taken of a member of by a member of Cosby's team that showed a juror standing in close proximity to a Cosby accuser. The Cosby accuser in question was, of course, Miss Lily Bernard, who has filed her own lawsuit against Cosby in New Jersey. And she's saying, I never spoke to any juror ever. I never do anything to jeopardize this case. I don't even look at them bullshit. She came there with her sons in the courtroom, according to what Andrew stated. The deck is stacked, ladies and gentlemen. That's why this book couldn't have come out at a better time. Yes, I know that too. Frank Sinatra divorced his first wife, the mother of his 3 children, for Ava Gardner. Frank Sinatra was also messing with Lauren Bacall while Humphrey Bogart was dying of cancer. Or after she was widowed, I should say. They were supposedly messing around. He even proposed marriage to her. He divorced Mia Farrow on the set of Rosemary's Baby. He didn't want her doing that type of movie. She said, I'm going to do it. He served her with divorce papers right on the set. Told her, don't you do this piece of shit movie. Not with my name. I like Frank Sinatra, but he was controlling like that. He had an ego, like most artists, entertainers. So I'm gonna play this last video. I gotta roll out for real, for real. But yeah, it was known. Yeah, it was all known. Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr. I mean, he had a bunch of women. Angie Dickinson. I mean, the list goes on. And it's not just him. John F. Kennedy. That was just part of it. I'm gonna play more of Andrew.
Everyone, this is a sham. This is a sham. The jurors, they didn't answer question 8. They're supposed to answer all the questions to 9. They come to the judge. The judge tried to wear them down and stress them out to make them come up with a verdict. We have to be out of here by 4 o'clock. The sheriff kept telling him we got to be out of here by 4 o'clock. He kept extending it almost to 5 o'clock. The sheriff said, no, we got to get you guys out of here. He was about to take the verdict, and they had not answered all the questions. And now he's going to have to put an alternate in, and they're going to have to start over on Monday. And it's all rigged, everybody. This is ridiculous. That's why I'm saying, black people, black America, what they're doing to us, they're saying this is not ours, Constitution. They're saying they control the courts. They could treat us any way they want to treat us. They could make rulings. How do you take a verdict when they haven't finished with the verdict sheet? How do you do that? You know how you do that? Become black in America. It can happen to you. Thank you.
So that's what you got going on. I'm about to wrap this up, guys, but make sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Donate to the Cash App. Please go. Also, get you some Nonnie's Creole blends if you have not. I know, Danielle, you've ordered some, and I'm going to mail some off to you Tuesday. The post office, I think, is closed tomorrow, but you will get some, ladies and gentlemen. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. Nonnie's goes great with every dish. And also, go to the Facebook page at Cabo Cause. Donate to the Cash App, ladies and gentlemen. And if you have not, I'm sure you have already get our music available on iTunes. Got to get on up. And video sold, ladies and gentlemen. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead, get on up out of here. Thank you all for tuning in. I love you. See you all in the next one. Be back Tuesday. Let's see. Oh, there's got it. All right.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat. Cause on the dance floor is where we'll be. Show me what you got.
Go to bed, Adam.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body.
Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up. Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop. I'll do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all time. We've been dealing with the death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you're achieving. So if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up, baby. Gotta get on, baby. Gotta get on, baby. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.
That sounds terrible, Gavin. Terrible, terrible, terrible. You should have let Charles Barkley. So why Charles Barkley wasn't on the vocals for that? You sound just like Street Clothes. Street Clothes, this was just terrible. You like Anthony Davis out on 3-point lane, can't hit a 3-pointer, not worth the rebound on it. This was just terrible.